Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going fabulous. Thanks for joining me. Today I am super excited to share with you a project using the Altenew Craft-A-Flower. This month for January it's called Morning Glory and it creates the most beautiful flowers ever. On the bottom of your Craft-A-Flower set there is a guide on how to put the flowers together. This set in particular creates 3 flowers and then 1 flower bed along with some real pretty leaved vines. So we're going to go ahead and do some die cutting. We're going to separate these and put them in the piles that they belong. The Craft-A-Flowers are basically what you are like a layering stamp set, only they're dies. So they create dimensional flowers with dies. So you're going to need your cardstock. So this is a great way to use up your scrap cardstock sheets. For today's cards, I thought we'd use some bright colors. I chose some pinks and some oranges and yellows, but very easy to put together. Don't let these dies intimidate you guys. They're all sectioned off beautifully. Okay, this little big huge one is actually the vine leaves. It's all in one, and then you have a smaller piece to where you can die cut out your separate color. Okay, we are going to go ahead and grab some cardstock. Now, some of the flowers have 2 layers, some of them have 3 layers. But I'm going to go ahead and grab 3 different colors of colored cardstock. I'm going to use a real pretty pink that I had. And then what you do is you just line up. Since I'm going to be creating a whole bunch of different flowers, I'm just going to die cut out each one of these. They're different flowers. With different colors too. So I'm going to just lay them on here, line them up, and then do a little bit of die cutting. Your largest piece, you want to make sure that you die cut out with your lightest color. I learned that out. And then almost like you would do when you're doing your layering stamps, your most solid image will be your lightest color. So same with the dies. Okay, and then just following along the guide makes it super helpful also. So those are my pinks. I'm going to bring in my orangey color, my yellow colors actually. I was worried about the yellows because the 2 darker ones were a little bit close in color, but I think they worked out really good. And then those are my orange colors there. I chose some kind of softer colors. For greens, you just need 2 different colors. I have a pale green and then a darker green here. We'll do a little die cutting with this. For my leaves, same goes. Your bigger leaf images you want to die cut out with your lighter cardstock. The detail pieces go with the darker. For the center of each one of my Morning Glory flowers, I chose a mustard yellow cardstock, and then I went ahead and die cut everything out here. You can see I just die cut out all 3 flowers with the 3 different colors just to make it easy. I do want to add a little bit of dimension to my flowers, so I'm bringing in some Altenew inks. This color here is Coral Berry, and I'm just going to go around the edges of my flowers. You could use any kind of inks that you have, your distress inks, your favorite ink pads, just a shade darker than your lightest color of cardstock. It just creates a little added texture. I'm going to go ahead and off camera, I'm going to do a little bit of shading with all the colors and with all the flowers. And again, this set will create 3 flowers and then 1 flower bud. The most furthest on my screen here to the right are the shapes of the flowers. And then the darker the color goes will be the layered parts of my flowers. So I will spare you shading the rest of these flowers, but once they're all done, I'm going to zoom in and we are going to grab our glue and do a little layering with cardstock. Super fun. This is like putting puzzle pieces together. If you like puzzle pieces or you like doing puzzles, I think you will really enjoy this. It's very relaxing. Just going to add a little bit of glue behind my darker piece. Just following the guide on the front of my package, I'm going to add my darker shade here. Do the same thing with this little vine. It's all one piece, so you just add 1 darker shade. I'll add that to this one. There's one little piece that looks like a little check mark. That piece is going to go on one of the larger leaves here. We'll grab that, add a little glue Sometimes it's easier to add glue to your light cardstock and then pick it up and then add it to your leaf. So whatever you prefer, it's very easy to do. There's that little check mark piece, and then we have this little piece that will go on the larger leaf, and this one's going to go all the way almost to the top. You have that little piece that's supposed to gives it the illusion of it being flipped over. Love that. And then we have our two smaller leaves. Actually it's just one. I die cut out some extra ones. I die cut out 3 sets of these leaves, but I'm just showing you how to do one set. We have another like little check mark piece that we're going to add to this smaller piece. And then basically that's it for our leaves. Our leaves are done. We'll add this little piece. We're good to go. Okay, now we have our little flower stems. We get to put stems on 2 of our flowers, and then one of our flower bed has a stem also. One of these stems, it's the largest topped one, has a little detail piece. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue. This one you want to add glue all the way down the stem of it. And then you can add your little detail piece to that. So that little flower stem is ready to go. Okay, after we have this done, we're going to create some flowers. I'm only going to do one set. I'm going to use the yellow cardstock. Maybe I should use the pink one because you can see more of the detail. But I think with the yellow you could still do it. I'm taking my lightest piece, and then I'm going to take my secondary piece that we die cut with our mid-tone cardstock. You just layer this. There's always a layer point that lines up to the edge of the flower, which makes it very easy. After we have this adhered, we're going to go ahead and add our 3rd layer, which is a smaller piece, with our darkest yellow cardstock. This one will line up on our mid-tone piece here. And you can see the dimension that it has. It just creates such pretty flowers. And then when you added that shading with your inks, it just makes it pop a little bit more. Now each of the flowers do have a little bit, a flower center. So I'm just going to add a little dot of glue to the center. And the centers are actually shaped like little hearts. And I die cut those out with some really dark yellow cardstock, almost a mustardy color. Just going to adhere those to the center. And that flower is ready to go. That one actually doesn't have a stem to it. Next we'll do our second flower. Add our 2nd layer with our mid-tone. We'll just line up the petals on the right side here, and everything else just goes right in place. This piece, we're going to add our 3rd layer. It's a larger 3rd layer. And that's our darkest yellow. We'll add that. And I think that's so pretty. Next we'll add our flower center. And then this one does have a stem. So we're going to grab the stem that looks like a tulip almost. I want to add a little bit of glue. Actually this one is, it's the one it looks like a tulip, yes, but it's the one that we added the extra darker green cardstock to. So this one has the stem that has 2 layers to it. But we add that to the very bottom. And you can see, once you see how to layer them together, it kind of fits like a puzzle. So you'll see whether you have it positioned right or not. There is one smaller piece that goes to this flower. I'm going to add that at the very bottom, and then that flower is all done. So pretty. I love morning glories. To me they always seem like a very delicate flower. Very beautiful. I'm going to add our little flower center, and then our 2nd flower is good to go. And once you do one, you get the hang of it real fast, guys. Okay, our 3rd flower is another larger flower. We'll take our lightest color. This one we're going to add our 2nd layer. This one only has a 2nd layer. It doesn't have a 3rd layer. We'll add some glue behind it. And then we're going to go ahead and add our little flower stem on the very bottom. This flower stem has the longer base. We'll go ahead and add a little bit of glue on top of there. Line up our flower, and then this one is good to go. And the flower stems actually are the same width as your leaf lines, so it just, you could create any kind of cluster you want with them, which makes it really nice. Okay, this is your flower bed. The flower bed is 2 pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and add my second layer here. And then for this one, we're going to grab the last of our flower stem. It kind of looks like a little tadpole. Has a little squiggly stem. And by this time I have a little bit of glue on my hand, so everything's sticking. But I'm going to add a little bit of glue to my little tadpole. And then we're going to add our flower. And then our little flower bed is good to go. So pretty easy to put together and a great way to use your scraps. Add this. And again, the stems are the same width as the vines, the leaf and the vines. So you can go ahead and add this to your vine. You can add it to the very bottom. You can customize it any way you want, basically. You can add this to your second flower. And you can create some beautiful projects with it. So super neat. And then there's 2 different kind of vines too. You have this one also. And then there's a single leaf, and there's even a little itty bitty squiggly line for your little vine pieces. I'm going to do my flowers. Continue on. I'm going to grab, let's go do the orange. And I thought, you know what, let's do the pink. The pink's really pretty with the colors, because I took my cardstock, I had a little bit more of a different color palette with that. So we'll put that back and grab our pink one. We'll grab our lightest pink, second layer, we're going to go ahead and add to our mid-tone. And you can see how easy it lines up on the very bottom edge. We'll grab our third layer. Third layer is a little bit skinnier one, kind of looks like eyeglasses. We're going to add that. And then I think that looks so pretty. With the yellow flower center, the yellow stamen, it just makes it pop too. With the pink against with the pink against the yellow, makes it stand out. And then you have this one again. This is the largest flower, and it doesn't have a stem that goes with it. I guess since it's fully opened, you don't really need it. But I'm going to continue on building all of my flowers, and when we're done, we're going to create a couple of cards with these. You can see how pretty they are once you put them all together. And I love the bright colors too. I guess this is just my color palette. I love it. Okay, we're going to kind of make a little bit of room and do a little bit of shading with some Altenew inks. So I'm using Bristol smooth cardstock to create my backgrounds, but we're going to scoot these over a little bit, bring in my craft mat and my blending brushes, and we're going to start off. My card size, the panel size, is actually 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so this is going to fit directly on top of my card base. But I'm taking the same coral berry that I used to do some shading on my pink flowers. We're going to add a little bit of shading to the bottom of my panel, just blending it out. And after we have this this down on the very bottom, kind of intensifying on the edge. I like that real bright pink on the very edge of my cardstock. I'm going to bring in my yellow ink. I believe this is pumpkin pie. I'm going to go ahead and add this, and we are going to blend these two together. I love pink and yellows together, and I love how it creates a corally color. So I thought it'd go really good with the flowers. My pumpkin pie ink, I want to kind of spread out the color so it kind of blends into the white, and then that panel's good to go. While we have the craft mat out, I'm going to bring in another cardstock, and then I'm also going to bring in a stencil from Altenew. The stencil that I'm using is called Modern Circles, and I thought we would add just a little bit of color in the background of our panel. To do this, I'm going to use my finger daubers, and we're basically using the same inks. I believe this is pumpkin pie. I'm going to add some yellow to just a few of the half circles here. And I couldn't find my pixie spray. I had organized my cabinet and I had put it somewhere. I should have put it with the stencils, but of course I didn't do that, so I couldn't find my pixie spray, and so I should have used it. That would have helped keep my stencil positioned on my cardstock, so I'm constantly adjusting it. So if you or maybe I should have tacked it down with some tape, but no worries, it's easy to line back up. My next color, I'm going to use the same coral berry. I think for today's cards, I'm not going to bring in any sentiments because I thought they would make a beautiful gift card set. I think these Craft-A-Flower, especially the Morning Glory, I think would be a beautiful a gift. I really do. I'm going to add my coral berry. And then the third color, I opted to use an orange or green, and I ended up using a green. The green that I'm using is called Frayed Leaf. And my little ink cubes are part of a set, actually. The green and the coral berry are part of a floral 6-pack set, and then the yellow is a different set. I think it's called Fall Harvest. So I'll list it down below if you guys like the colors, but these blend pretty. I'm going to line it back up and do my last color here on the edge, which I probably didn't need to because we're going to end up trimming our panel down, but it's nice to have it just in case. So that panel is ready to go with the same bright colors. I'm going to clean up my work surface and bring in my paper trimmer, and we're going to trim this panel down to basically 3¼ inches wide. Kind of picking and choosing what I want to be on the front of it. So I did a little bit off the left, a little bit off the right, but it is going to be my card front's length, which is 5½ inches, so I didn't have to worry about trimming that. I'm going to go ahead and flip this over, add tape behind it, and then we're going to add this all the way to the right of our card base, so we have a little bit of a white open area on the left. I do have a little bit of excess overhanging, but we're going to trim that in a little bit. I'm going to take my tweezers. These are actually super sharp tweezers. I poked the hole right at my seam line, and then I'm going to thread some white twine through the very top, loop it around the bottom, and then we're going to tie a bow towards the bottom. This is going to cover the seam, and I think it's going to work out. I like white on white sometimes. It brings a softness to your projects. Okay, after we have this done, we're going to grab our flowers and some foam squares. And I like to add foam squares behind my flowers first, and they're going to kind of do a little bit of arranging. So we're just kind of playing with the placement. And then we're going to bring in some of our green vines, and then again, we're not going to put a sentiment on here. I think it's busy enough to have a pretty note card without a sentiment. I'm going to add that vine on the very top there, remove the release paper, and then just commit to the position that I want these guys in. And then there is that little squiggly vine too. I die cut out 3 of those. We're going to use those on this card. I used the darkest green to die cut those out, and I did that because I wanted it to really stand out, and since our background was a little bit busy, I think the dark green is going to work out great. We're going to add a couple of the smaller leaves here just using the tape runner. We're not going to add adhesive behind those. We are going to add adhesive, not foam tape. But I think that looks so pretty. Just love that. There's my little vine. I'm just going to use my precision glue pen, add some dots of glue behind it, and then we'll secure 3 vines. I think it's going to really stand out. You'll see when we're finished how it just makes it pop. And I think we are good to go. We're going to add bells and whistles, both projects at the same time. So we're going to set this aside, and then we will work on card number 2. I love those bright colors. Okay, for our next card, we're going to grab our panel that we created with our inks on the very bottom. I'm going to just flip this over, add a tape behind it, and go ahead and secure this to an A2 size card front. And that ink blending is going to be on the bottom. For this card, I thought it would be nice to have the flowers trailing from the top right corner. And so I decided to add the leaves first, kind of trailing down, and then we're going to go ahead and add the flowers. For this one, I chose all the flowers kind of facing them downwards on the vine. I didn't use the full flower for this one, just these two flowers and then all three colors of my flower beds. What I'm doing is adding foam tape behind the flower part itself, and then adding a little bit of adhesive behind the stem of the flower, so our flowers have a little bit of dimension. I did end up trimming the excess off of my flowers, and when I did that, I needed to glue down a little bit more, so that's when your glue pen comes in handy. Just add a little bit of extra glue to keep those secure to your card front. I think the colors were so pretty. Okay, for this card, we'll trim off the top here. We have a little excess overhanging. I just love the way this turned out. Note card set would be just gorgeous. I'm going to bring in some gems from my stash. The gems that I have are like clear iridescent, and I think they're just going to pick up the facets of those colors. We're going to add those in a minute. I am going to bring in some more of that twine for this card too. And I decided to tie the bow to the left and then I wanted to leave the strings a little bit long for this card. I just love the way they kind of flowed down. I think it just kind of worked. Here's my gems. I'm just going to add a few with glue. And then after I have my gems adhered, that finishes off my card projects today, guys. You know, my card projects today are part of a blog hop that Altenew is having, celebrating this brand new Craft-A-Flower Morning Glory release. So if you want to join in, there is a giveaway happening with it. I'll leave the link down below if you want to check that out. Have a great day. Thanks so much for stopping by. We will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.